Welcome to Surf Dudes with Attitude, a podcast about California dreams, the forgotten 90s show, but not forgotten by us. This is Pete from New York City. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Pete. I'm George Howell from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and we are still the number one podcast about California dreams.
You know, I noticed that the cast of California Dreams have been gearing up. I don't know if you saw, they recently did a live Q&A. They launched a website. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
I don't know if it was them or if it was the people that put on the live stream, but it's called CaliforniaDreamsBand.com, and I went to go on it and it didn't work. So I can only imagine that it was overrun with traffic that we could not get on. It crashed the internet. I can't help but think that maybe we're sort of in the conversation here about getting people involved in this. But I'm telling you, mark my words, because I've said this from the beginning, they're gearing up for something. It's a podcast. It's a DVD. It's a Blu-ray. It's a reboot. It's something. But before we get to that, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Zach is not with us today.
Zach's not here?
Zach is not with us today. Zach is out of the country right now. And as much as we would have loved for him to take all of his recording equipment over to the Mediterranean Sea, we're going to have to trudge on without him. He'll be sorely missed, but we do have a very special co-host with us today. George, you want to get that stage cane and bring him in? Hello, This is Mike Zucker out of Colorado. How are you doing? Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. My pleasure.
Yeah. Mike is a dear old friend. He's a bandmate. He's a kick-ass musician. He's also runs his own podcast, so we can talk about Skype, streaming platforms. We can talk about RSS feeds. You know, that's what everyone came here to listen to.
Yeah, it's nerd out.
So,
Mike, tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
My name's Mike Zucker. I'm a record producer, kind of.
You are.
I'm a scientist too. I do run my own podcast out of Denver, the Denver rock scene, which is unlike this show, is just very open, and it's pretty much just me and some friends like getting drunk in my basement, rambling on. Pete's been on the show.
Yes, I was on the inaugural episode, was I not? The first episode. And I was sitting there being like, Mike's not going to edit any of this out at all. He's barely going to put a bumper on the front and back. And my OCD was crying out like crazy, but...
He's like me when it comes to video.
Yeah, I mean...
You might be I did end up one episode, I think it was like the St. Patrick's Day. I did an edit, but you know why they did the edit? Is because both me and the guest had to go piss. And I really contemplated just keeping in the silence. Because I didn't. That
sounds like it would be on there. I can't believe that you cut it out. That's astonishing.
Well, it was kind of a long piss. We both had to piss, and it was like taking forever. And I'm like, oh man, this I have to snip this one out.
Did you go same time then, or did you?
Yeah, we did. We crossed the streams to try to like keep the time lapse minimal. No, and I think I was telling somebody that, and they went, dude, you didn't have to cut it. You should just followed your guest into the bathroom with the microphone.
Kept talking.
You guys talking to them while
don't break stride.
Yeah, for real. So then that once, no edits.
Mike, you're like a real life Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah, a real Renaissance boy,
star scientist.
There you go. Well, I'm not getting these references. You say like a Renaissance man? Is that what you mean by that?
Yes, the Danny DeVito film. Of course, George is constantly referencing that film.
Yeah, Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. Well, it's been a very hot minute since I've seen that though, since I was maybe 12.
Well, I think I was going to say Mike is of a certain age as we are, and I really want to know what your experience or familiarity, if you will, with California Dreams is before we subjected you to this. Don't hold back, obviously. We want an honest opinion, but we know you are a musician, same age as I, so this was definitely in your periphery. You are a product of divorce, so I imagine your parents threw you in front of a television and this might have popped up, and you do know about Saved by the Bell, so ergo, this had to have been somewhere around you. So tell us,
dude,
how did you find it?
I'm shocked that I've never heard of this show before your podcast. For real, I can't believe it. And you said this, like, I'm a huge Saved by the Bell fan, and I could not help, like, I'm sure anyone that's ever watched the show, from the moment it starts up, going, this is a Saved by the Bell ripoff, right? This is just Saved by the Bell, but about a van. Right? I mean, like, the graphics look the same. I know it's from the same era, but was it like the same producer even? I mean,
this was okay. This is I'm going to say it's a spinoff. It's a spinoff. It was literally, it aired right after Saved by the Bell.
How did I never watch this? I don't know.
I don't know. Did you just immediately like run to the bathroom for your little trickle parade, like right after Saved by the Bell, and it lasted exactly 28 minutes?
Did something like that.
I don't know how people miss this.
The opener for this season is new. It used to be different and did not look as Saved by the Bell like.
Well, you know what I was going to say? Maybe this is it. That open sequence is so bad, dude. Well, like,
it's very
here's what's bad. And actually, now that so here's a question for George, because you just said that. Did they change the music too?
Just the vocals on who's singing, but that theme song is throughout the entire series.
But that theme song does not match the like flow or style of that intro whatsoever. It's the weirdest.
It used to be a lot better.
Well, a lot is a relative term.
Well, like Saved by the Bell, it's kind of like an upbeat, then it has a rocking guitar, and so the graphics, the '90s graphics that are moving all around, like work.
Good point.
This one is this real slow, weird one where there's like, are there even drums in there? And it's like a weird little ballad with this like fast moving, bright graphics on it.
Okay. Season 1, they were all like playing on the beach and everything, and it fit. This here, they just redid all the.
Wait, but this is huge, George. Hang on. Mike brings up a great question. Is there drums in the theme song
at all?
I don't think there is.
Okay, because when I saw them play, I don't want to brag, but I saw them play when they did a reunion show months ago.
Wait, live? You saw them play live?
That was the kind of origin story of this podcast. Okay, I wanted to do this for over 10 years, and then I got the idea again, and I looked literally that night into if anybody had a podcast of this, and I saw that they were coming the next night to New York City because it was around Comic-Con. So it was the universe telling me to start this podcast and finally do it. But when I saw them play, they definitely had drums in there. But now that I think about it, and I've listened to the songs how many fucking times, I don't think there are.
Pretty sure there's no drums in that intro, man.
No, there's not a single drum in it at all.
Well, so we've talked about it
right now. There are no drums in it.
Yeah, there's no fucking tambourine, for Christ's sake.
Multiple times that it's the least attitude song that the California Dreams has, and that's saying a lot.
The drums come in like 30 seconds into the song when they get into the chorus.
So they do have drums. Okay,
yeah,
but they're wimpy drums with a ride cymbal, probably. That's what I'm going to assume.
It just doesn't feel right. At that intro, really, and then what George was saying, that they actually had different visuals for the intro, that makes so much sense. Because watching that intro, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, who decided that was the
theme song does not match the first season intro either. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It just, the visuals might have looked a little better. The second season one that we're seeing, and I don't know what the rest of the seasons look like, but this second season one is especially bad. But anyway, that's good to know that you're coming in this with like fresh eyes. You've never seen it. Again, if you didn't like it, you can let us know. It's 30 years old. There's no spoiler alerts on any of this, okay? We encourage everybody to follow along. The show is only streaming on YouTube, so please check it out there and listen to us. You can go to CaliforniaDreamsPodcast.com. That has all of our stuff.
SurfDudesWithAttitude.com has our stuff. CaliforniaDreamsPodcast.com is where you can go to support our show through Patreon.
I knew it was one of them. Yes, and please write to us, surfdudeswithattitude@gmail.com. So we've got a lot of cool stuff cooking for this second season. Anyway, Mike, you may not be privy to this, but before we start talking about the episode, you have to say a catchphrase in Zach's stead, okay?
A catchphrase?
Yeah, it's a catchphrase that Matt says every time they play a song. Matt is the keyboardist, normally the guitarist, but he's the keyboardist in the second season. So
Okay.
do you know what he says?
No, that one I missed.
Let's do it.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
That's a pretty good
Does he
Zach
say it all
impression.
goofy like that?
He
too?
does say it. He says it really goofy like that. That's good. So Matt is the tall, skinny guy. He's the one that they tried to make into like a rock guy in this band, and it just never worked. And so you see in the second season, this is only the third episode, but Jake, the guitarist, the leather jacket guy, they brought him in because the band needed some edge.
Yeah. He's Mr. Cool. I got that.
He's totally Mr. Cool.
Yeah.
So last episode, or we met Jake 2 episodes ago, and now we're meeting a whole new character. So it's crazy that you were on this episode. This is the first time we were introduced to Sam Woo, who is on here for the rest of the series. She becomes their new co-lead singer, I want to say, new keyboard player, I guess. Anyway, give me your overall thoughts of this episode, and then we'll take it beat by beat kind of thing.
Well, I'd say probably the first thing, which we did mention before, was it's just such a Saved by the Bell ripoff. Like, I really wonder if they shared like the same production team.
Well,
or
some of the same sets, but they're different.
Yeah, but very similar sets, very similar costumes. Just, I mean, I know it's the 90s, so it's like a vibe, but even more than that, man, it's not like these two shows kind of vibe together. They seem like they're like you said, it's almost like a spinoff. But are there any actual characters that cross over?
Mike, great question. We found so far explicitly no, but we found through some IMDb sleuthing that there is a character that had one line named Stingray that was in one episode of this, and then I think 3 episodes of Saved by the Bell: The College Years. Okay. So in this, CDU, this California Dreams extended universe, it is possible that it is a proper spinoff. So
sure, I think that counts.
I mean, we really don't get a lot from this show. So when we see something like that, we just clamor for it and we gobble it up. I'm gonna say it's a spinoff because they're both in California. It's both basically about the same thing, but you just add a band to one of them. And I think Saved by the Bell is very popular at this point, so they just threw another show together. But as we have said earlier on this podcast episodes, this was supposed to be like a Monkees situation. This band was made to be a band, and they were going to go on tour, and the show was going to be secondary. And then it was easier and cheaper to just film the show. So they dropped the idea. And then they just did teenage hijinks kind of thing. So we're going to see where the show takes us.
That kind of surprises me because you can definitely tell that these people don't know how to play, though. I mean,
okay. Well, that's something we talk about on this podcast a lot is the believability. I know when they all auditioned that they all had some musical talent. Oh. I know Tony, for instance, definitely plays drums. Matt and Jake are definitely guitar players. Okay. Matt, played by Brentley Gore, to this day tours. He actually lives in Nashville, and our goal for season 2, season ender, is to go play the California Dreams board game that we bought on eBay with him in Nashville because he lives 10 minutes from Zach. So we're going to start a GoFundMe for people to fly us down there and fly Zach to his own house. So
beautiful. That's
where we're at. But it is very sitcom-like. It's very Saved by the Bellian to throw in a new character the second one leaves. Last episode, Matt's sister, we think his twin sister, she abruptly kind of leaves the show. She goes to Rome for some music conservatory, and she's gone forever.
That's why they're auditioning. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the audition. So we're gonna start it at Sharkie's. We usually start every episode at Sharkie's because that's kind of like their max. The auditions are being. What's up?
Yeah, we give you just what. So when they start at Sharkie's, there's a couple scenes where you could see some arcade machines in the back.
Okay.
And I shit you not, I paused the show 3 different times and zoomed in, trying to see if I could recognize. I think one of them was Archon.
Did you notice the cat? So were they fake arcades?
I'm pretty sure they were. That's I was trying
Okay.
to like zoom in and see, are these real games? And I'm pretty sure they were fake.
Yeah, it's filmed on like 160 on YouTube, so you can't see shit. It's potato quality. But the last episode of season 1 featured an arcade machine. Like, it had some pivotal parts where the little brother was playing it and then he gets lost. So it was that game called Cyclops, and he talks about playing the game and how you level up when you take the Cyclops' eyes out.
Oh, okay.
So we noticed that every time they play at Sharkie's, they move the entire arcade out and they build a stage. That's what we discovered.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
yes.
makes
So
sense.
that is their residency that they play constantly. Or they're playing like a bar mitzvah or a sweet 16 party or a country club.
And this one, I think they're just playing in the garage, right? That's the only one
They
I
are.
remember.
So
Yeah.
they don't have a gig every episode, but they do have it a lot. So their stomping ground is Sharkie's. Tony works there, although I don't know if we've seen him working this season, but literally this podcast is so ridiculous with its minutia. You're just going to have to keep rolling with me, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I have a question. They're holding auditions at the table. Did you see they fucking made a sign for the auditions? Like a professionally made sign.
I
It's
know,
not
that
something they just wrote. They had to get that made somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of fit of like, you could tell you're watching a sitcom, but yeah, when you watch that, you're like, dude, who makes a sign?
And why would you have it at Sharkie's? Like, if you're going to audition people to sing, like, why not have it in your garage? That seems
Yeah,
totally
rehearsal
apropos
space.
of what they would normally do. But
Yeah.
let's say somebody was good at Sharkie's. Are they fucking singing while somebody's ordering a fucking turkey club? That's
Well,
ridiculous.
Nobody even did sing, did they? They made some comment, they were asking the one chick, like, are you a good kisser? Because that means you're a good singer, which I don't know. They're not totally wrong about that. It's all mouth.
Mike, you've been to band a long time. When you're auditioning women, you ask them if they're good kissers, right?
No,
Or men.
Pete, you just kiss them.
Oh, okay.
And when you're as famous as me, they let you do it. That's
Oh, I see. Mike is doing something topical from 2017. That's great.
Did you like that?
I did.
Off the
The guy talking there, obviously, if you garnered the sleazy dude, his name is Sly. He's the band manager, and there's great debate on this podcast and with our listeners about whether Sly is a good manager. But I guarantee Sly set this audition up. He gets all their shows. He gets them money. He got them a band van. I think he's a good manager.
Yeah.
I did not have a. Did you have a manager when you were in high school?
Hell
A
no.
band manager?
No.
Have
And
you
know
ever
what? I
had a
would've-
manager?
No, he could have been as lazy as he wanted if he got us like a van and booked gigs and stuff. Be like, yeah, but you realize your manager's creeping on like all of your girlfriends and sisters. I'm like, yeah, but he booked us a gig, guys.
I know. It's a hard toss-up because Sly has dated at one point or another both female members of the band. And now this whole episode he's trying to get with Samantha using the most overt racism possible.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, they all are, but you're right. I think he's the one. Isn't he the one with the line with the Hong Kong honey? I'm pretty sure that was him.
Yes, multiple times. And China Doll too.
And China, but that seems great. Actually, when they went down the China Doll thing, I was like, dude, this would never fly. But then her comeback is like awesome. It was like, oh, okay.
I was surprised, and this show has surprised us multiple times at how it kind of it doesn't always go for the cheap joke, and these girls in the band actually do stand up for themselves, which is great. The guys don't ever learn a lesson, but the girls don't just take it lying down, which is awesome. So this is the first time that Sly said Hong Kong honey, and there's multiple times in this show where like the shit he says, it just does not age well, but we're not really looking at it to cancel Sly now. Like, we know that shit from 30 years ago doesn't hold up right now. We're just more talking about what it's like to be in a band from their perspective. You might not know this next question, but I'm wondering, like, hypothetically, Jenny has left in the last episode. I'm just kind of curious how long she's been gone. Because it seems long enough for them to get an exchange student and to hold auditions. So what are you thinking?
No, I don't know. They made it seem like in the beginning, like it was pretty Sure. I felt like at watching this, like I was missing something. And I think they maybe even did say quickly, oh yeah, since our singer moved away, but there's like one little quote about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I only watched this one episode, but I got the sense that they're just quick to the trigger, man. They're just like, oh no, you're out. Okay, fine. We got somebody else. I mean, feeling it's like a rotating door. That's the California dream. As long as they have that sleazy producer guy, the manager, the whole band could change. As long as
once your sister leaves your family, you just get another sister. So it's the same thing with the band. I mean, you've had that happen as somebody in a band. Like somebody leaves. If you have a show or something, and like, or you're like, the iron is hot and you're striking, like you got to get somebody fucking quick. Like we've had so many drummers that we've just had to get within days of a tour or a big performance or something. And like,
well, it's funny how that works out. Like sometimes you just get someone to fill in and they just fill in for you and it works and that's great. But sometimes, you know, much like you're saying in this show, you find somebody to fill in and they stick around for all 8 seasons of your band, you know?
Yeah, 8 seasons. I wonder how many seasons our collective bands have actually had.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know.
That's a lot. But yeah, as George has mentioned that it's crazy that it wasn't just a new student that they moved in. Like they specifically, the producers and writers made the choice to have Samantha move into Jenny's room. So you're literally just shifting one actress out and putting another one in.
Well, yeah, but she's an exchange student, right? Isn't that's a perfect setup for that, right?
I get it, but I think I only think they made they only made the exchange thing a thing because she's Asian. If they had cast a white girl, there's no way they would have made her like a Swedish, you know, exchange student or something.
And she probably still would have been living in the sister's room because they're not buying a whole other set for this.
Well, they don't have to. Like, it literally could have just been like, oh, who's that new girl at school? Like, oh, she just moved here from fucking Omaha or something. And like, and then you never really have to show them because this, you don't know, but like the entire first season was actually based on the Garrison family. It was Matt, his sister, he had a mom and a dad who you see the dad in this episode. This is his last appearance. They had a kid brother named Dennis who sucked, and he's gone after the end of the 13th episode. So the entire season, we're just supposed to believe that they're all there, but we just don't see them
anymore. Yeah.
So all these people just don't have parents unless the plot specifically calls for it.
Well, you know, I don't know, props to the producers for like trying something, like making it about a family. And if it doesn't really work, the rating out there, like, fuck it, let's try something else. Get an exchange student in there. Come on.
Only children. It's like Children of the Corn, really. Like they've killed off all the parents. That's what we think.
Right. Well, the dad's still there. But you said this is his last appearance?
Last appearance. So we've had a lot of back and forth on this. I've built a shrine to California Dreams behind me. We got headshots of the mom and the dad. And Sly, shirtless, because he did a lot of underwear modeling too around this time.
Okay.
But we love Dick. His name is Michael Cutt, and this is his last appearance. We have double and triple checked it, so you are seeing one life ends and another life is birthed. That's what you are in store for, Mike, and I'm so glad.
It's not like the dad had any good fucking lines or anything. I think he tried. He was like, they gave him one or two jokes, and they fell so flat. It was terrible.
Okay, so we found out that he's actually very young. We don't know if it's a.
Oh, the dad's young?
We found out that the dad was born in 1965 and the show came out in 1992. But there's some discrepancy. We've seen some websites that say 65, some websites don't. But it's become an inside joke with us, so keep up. All right.
I mean, I have to now knowing that I have to look at him again, but man, he looked like you know. To be that age,
it's costuming, man. They made him look like a fucking dad. And around that time, dads had to be dadded. Anyway, so we're going to jump to Sam's room, I guess you would call it. This used to be Jenny's room. Matt has a full-on like Canadian tuxedo on, which I thought was great. Usually Zach is like our residential fashion expert, and he dresses like somebody from the show each week.
Oh!
I think this would have been it. So...
The fashion's good, man. The fashion is good. I'll give him that. I remember thinking that was Saved by the Bell too. Like I like 90s fashion. It looked cool. And like the cast looks really good, and the outfits they give them look really cool. So I'm trying to find the silver lining, Pete. You know, the jokes suck, but
the music's great.
They look good doing it.
We love the fashion on this show. It's like sometimes it's like super goofy. Like a lot of Sly's outfits are like really hard to look at. But Tony's he's a goddamn sharp dresser, and it's always big block, great coloring. And then we're hoping that it stays that way, but the 90s gets infiltrated by drab colors like the later as the decade goes. So we're bracing for impact there.
So if this show goes on like for a long time, did the California Dreamers eventually become like grunge and start wearing ripped up jeans and flannel? And
Mike's asking the tough questions here on this podcast.
I'm not trying to jump to the
great.
end.
We don't know. I don't remember. I've seen this show probably twice through. Once as a kid, and then once, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago when it was finally uploaded to YouTube. Yeah. But I don't remember it. So this would be around the time of grunge. And there was an episode where they changed their image so they could get in at this new club, and they changed their name to the California Nightmares. And so they did.
Oh, see, they already beat me too. That's what I was going to say. They could easily become the California Nightmares and be all like grungy.
Well, you can see that clip on YouTube of them playing that. And it's even though we had a guest on named James who like absolutely hated the show. And he was saying like, even when they look like that, their song was called like, "This Is Not What Love Is Like" or something. Like it's still the most wussy song.
Yeah, the song didn't
or
match
"Love Is Not Like This." That's what it is. But it's, and Matt, as we've mentioned, he looks kind of the worst when he tries to be a badass. It just doesn't work. But now they got Jake.
Yeah, he could be the badass.
He could be the badass. Tony's gonna always be cool, and we like Tony because like he is really great at face acting. He actually has good jokes, and he can actually mime playing really well. So
yeah, not all the jokes were shit. Just like most of them.
No, I'm gonna say over 90% of this show's jokes are garbage.
They're pretty bad. And you know the other thing that I was reminded of, because it's been a while since I've watched 90s shows, is the laugh track. Oh my God, dude.
It's tough, man. It is tough it's weird
it's
to
so
like have somebody tell you when to laugh, basically. It seems alien to me now that it happened.
Well, and then they laugh at stuff that's like not funny. Like that wasn't funny. You know, you walked in, it's like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like what? There's no joke there.
Well,
like,
we actually had somebody on the show. We interviewed them. And they were telling us that they did 2 tapings, one in front of like kids and then one in front of adults. And then you would hear kind of an amalgamation of both reactions. So it was a live studio audience, but probably the kids are laughing at stupid shit.
Yeah, there's like snick. I mean, that's not just this show, really. I'm not trying to single them out. Like anytime I go back and watch these laugh track shows, you hear this like snickering in the back the whole time. I'm like,
yeah,
you're literally going to visit like his brother is like in the hospital, and you hear the snicker. You're like, what? There's no joke.
Well, that's hilarious, Mike. You're just not a comedian.
The laugh tracks, man.
So we're just we brushed on Sly being a racist face in this, so we don't have to say it. And like Mike said, Sly meets Sam, says something really stupid, inappropriate, and she immediately shoots him down. And that's kind of the end of it. I mean, this whole scene, everyone comes in with some Asian stereotypes, but after that, I think it's done, which, fine, get it out of the way.
Yeah.
I did have a really stupid observation here that maybe George can research or something, but like, I don't think the foundation of this house is real. Okay.
No, so you don't say.
If you look to the right on Samantha's room, formerly Jenny's room, there's a window, but we see people coming from both sides of the hallway. Like there is.
I thought the window was like in the back. I thought the window.
No, it's against the right hand wall.
Oh.
But you see people coming from both directions of the hallway, which means nothing. Nothing would be there. That is the end of the house because it's the window.
Do you know, back then, like nobody thought. I don't even know if back then, even maybe now, like no one thinks of that shit when they're doing.
It's like it's in room 237 when they look at Ullman's office and they're like, "There's no way this could actually work." Because like somebody did like a blueprint for the whole place, but
well, that's like the Seinfeld too. I'm sure you ever see that Jerry's apartment.
Oh, where the guy's like walking along like the window.
Well, it's a hallway thing again, where the hallway it cuts into his kitchen, where it's like his hallway cannot exist.
There it's some weird interdimensional being from Ghostbusters. So anyway, so they all meet Sam in this situation, and now I think they're all the guys are hatching a bet on like who can get with Sam.
Yeah.
They don't know if this girl is interested. She has no autonomy over her body. Of course, Tiffany is really nice to her. Tiffany is the bass player. Yeah. She's always a Pollyanna, and she loves everybody. At this point, they don't know that she wants to be in a band. They're still auditioning people. So everyone meets her.
Don't you think it's more of a competition thing between the guys, really, than has anything to do with this exchange student, though? I definitely got that gist of this. Was like, I don't think any of these guys give a rat's ass about her.
None of this makes sense.
No, bro. No, man, it's smart. No, it's smart, dude.
It says, okay, so Sly and Tony, this makes sense. You don't know them, but they're kind of the sleazeballs here. But Matt is like the sweetest guy. This doesn't make sense for him that he's going to try to get in on this competition. Or this gangbang, because that's definitely like how this starts. Like, it's really uncomfortable.
That's what they're going for.
Jake is like supposedly like a ladies' man. I don't get it, but he's saying, I don't know. This doesn't make sense to him either. But they're all gonna try. They're gonna shoot their shot with this poor woman.
They did try.
So we're gonna jump to the garage.
Okay.
They're rehearsing.
I love
this. I guess. Scene. So Matt was always the guitarist, and now he has jumped to keys. So I don't know if he's going to stay on keys. He wasn't
cool. He wasn't cool enough for guitar.
He wasn't. He's definitely. You see him. He was way more comfortable on them keys and doing those really frilly background vocals. That's definitely more his vibe. So let's talk about this song.
Well, wait a minute. Before the song, how about I love where they're asking her to audition and they hand her some sheet music.
Oh,
they hand her some fucking staff, and she's the singer. And they go, "Hey, learn this." And then she comes up, like there's like a little fade out back and like, "Okay, now I'm ready to sing it, guys. I learned it all from reading the sheet of music."
Little wipe there.
I got to jump in real quick before all that. She does the whole, "You have a band?" And Matt's like, "Yeah, we're the California Dreams." Like, why wouldn't you have ever heard of us?
I mean, I cannot believe that news of the California Dreams is not spread across the Pacific Ocean to Hong Kong, mainland China. I don't understand, but now they know. So I don't know. They've had this staff paper thing before too, and we've discussed like. Does everybody know how to read music here? Like, because they literally hand it to Tony at one point too. So is he writing out? Is he writing out fucking drum parts for them too? Because he's not writing out bass parts. Because Tiffany, she's all over the place with the bass. She's going like 3 to 5 to 4 to 2 to 6. Like she's not. It's always a chromatic. She never really plays anything other than the E string.
Dude, that's the one, earlier on I was like, these people don't play, but she's the one that I really noticed. And like, hats off to Tiffany. She's a cutie and you're very nice in the show, but like, oh my God, the whole time I'm like, her hands are not following the song.
I don't understand why somebody could have because they're all basic chord patterns. There's only a few songs that actually like, I wouldn't say get intricate, but they get a little more involved. Just somebody be like, this. At least hit those notes. You don't have to do it on beat, but hit those notes.
But not even just on beat. She's just like changing like out of phrase. You know what I mean? Like the bass is like hanging on a note. She's going like this. It's like, dude, that's immediately threw me out.
Didn't she know that 30 years down the line, there was going to be some sad men that were going to critique the hell out of her playing?
Yeah, for real. No, but I mean, she was definitely, the bass was the one that got me of going like, well, these people are fake. They obviously can't play.
I mean, okay.
It's interesting that some of them really do play, and it was supposed to be a real band. I would have never guessed that from watching this show.
I remember as a kid having a debate whether they actually played, and I was adamant in the camp that they definitely played. And I think it was because of Jake. Because when Jake played solos and when Matt played solos too in the first season, they were actually dead on. But the first time we see Jake a couple episodes ago, his solo 100% on. But then his chords are like some weird fucking Robert Fripp kind of bullshit. Like I have no idea what he's doing, but he knows how to play. So I was like, in this episode, we see him hitting a G and an E and a D. Although I tried it, it's not in any of those keys. So sometimes they're doing. He looks great. I love his little solos. It's all knees and little kicks. He's like Elaine. Every time he plays a solo, it is so animated. He does that stank face that every guitarist does, but he like amps it up. Dude, it's almost like when an actor has prosthetics, they have to overdo their facial expressions so it moves through the prosthetics. That's what I was thinking. And he does this constantly. He just gyrates in a way that I can't put into words.
I would say the guitar solo not only was the most entertaining part of that performance, but probably the most believable too. When I watched it, you know, not picking out the chords and everything, but I was like, he probably could really play that. I think that's legit.
I mean, he stands up. He's leaning back against his fucking stool, and he's like, "I'm gonna get up just for this."
Yeah,
it's a miracle. He got out of that wheelchair. Was Tony actually doing rim shots in the beginning? I don't know if you looked that closely.
I didn't look that closely.
I heard rim shots, but I couldn't really see. Later, he plays like an actual, snare. Yeah. Matt's background vocals mixed to perfection in this garage. Love.
The mix was really good. I mean, the song is cheesy, but like, it was a good fucking mix. Okay, I believe you. It's always good. Like, I was kind of impressed. I'm like, damn, the production on this is like top notch, man.
Well, they make like at least one song an episode, if not more than that. Like, they don't. Sometimes they play songs that we have heard before, but the amount of songs they put out, I think we looked it up. It was something like 55 songs in this whole show or something like that. And like, that's not bad. And we looked up. We did an episode of Gem we do a side project where we look at other shows that have band oriented stuff. Gem had like 150 or something like that. Like, and those songs fucking slap. Like, one song beats every California Dreams song from Gem. Like, straight up. You got to watch that show again, man. It's a banger.
Gem, I did watch. I remember as a kid watching Gem. Although, like, dude, I was 8 now. I definitely. But I have to go back and listen to some Gem songs because if they're even better than the California Dreams, that's saying a lot, people.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, look, most of the California Dreams songs are like really cheesy and they do not hold up. But when I saw them live, the fans, like, they were convinced this was a real band. This, like, people were singing along like it was like In the Air Tonight by Genesis. Like, they were like, this is the best song that's ever been written. So,
since you guys have done a lot of research on this, like, was this a pretty highly rated? I mean, did they get like good ratings? Was this really well watched?
Everyone is very surprised that this show lasted 5 seasons. Everyone just thought that this was like a one-off thing. Everyone was just being supportive of our little podcast idea, and then they're like, wait, I gotta fucking listen to 78 episodes of this shit. So it was successful enough to stay on NBC in a prime slot on Saturday mornings in the NBC lineup.
That's pretty good. And you said 5 seasons. That's pretty good, man.
Yeah,
that's a good run.
That's great. I mean, that's a lifetime. That's syndication money, baby. I mean, I don't think any of these people got syndication money because they probably had shitty contracts, but that's a whole other podcast.
You don't think Tiffany's rolling in it with her terrible, it's not playing to the song?
Well, I mean, like, so Kelly Packard went on to be in Baywatch for 2 seasons. So she was okay. And then I think a lot of them went and did other stuff. We contacted the mom, Gail Ramsey, is now a minister. And we actually got her to bless this podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Name dropping. Big here on Surf Dudes with Attitude. So
did she know what she was getting into with this explicit podcast?
No. We just said that I said we started a podcast about California Dreams, and I basically said, like, this is a new business, and please wish us and pray for us for bountiful or plentiful bounties or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And somebody got back to me. It might have been her or her people. I can't imagine she's getting inundated. So. Anyway, the Lord is on our side here, so.
Oh, good.
So we're gonna go to Sorry.
Wait. I had another question, if I can, real quick. Because maybe there's something else I'm missing here. Got to keep harping on the bass players. You can tell I got a thing for the bass player, right? Why doesn't the band ever try to hit on her? They're like all like going nuts over Sam. But
they already did.
Oh, okay.
Gone. So when Jenny,
like somebody's sister or something already happened.
Matt and Jenny are siblings, and from the jump, Sly was like, "Oh, I'm going to marry you, Jenny. You're going to be the mother of my children," kind of thing. But it was not consistent. It was like every third episode he would be into Jenny, and Jenny finally goes out with him one episode, and then there's an episode where he goes out with Tiffany, and they both break up with him, and then it's never mentioned again. Okay. So yeah, Tiffany's beautiful. Jenny was beautiful, but Sly's a dog, and he's gonna whatever new thing. What's that?
They all look good. All these kids are beautiful. Even the guys are beautiful. Not to jump to the end of the episode.
Are gorgeous.
But yeah, I knew there had to be some background there because I'm like, dude, why is nobody hitting on the? They're like going nuts over the singer, and like nobody's hitting on the bass player. But that makes sense.
Been there, done that, man. So.
The mechanic doesn't work anymore.
So we're going to go back to Sam's room now. We have a debate. Maybe you can weigh in as like an unbiased source. Do you think Sly is their neighbor, or do you just think that he is like a latchkey kid or something and just constantly hangs out at the Garrison household?
Yeah, no, I get the sense they all hang out at the Garrison household. I feel like they're all little orphans. I only watched this one episode, but I would guess that that's where they all go there to, like, you know, get dinner and I don't know.
Get their little scraps. Okay.
You're right. For real. I mean, I got that sense that their family was like, you know, standing this entire band.
I mean, that definitely makes sense with them like housing Samantha now. She has decorated her room totally. She has a King Kong poster, which... Come on, this Japanese, like, come on.
That was a little much.
Why did I have this note? I said, plug it up, baby. You're about to get lucky. Did somebody say that in the episode?
I don't remember that.
Okay.
But maybe. I mean, there's one, I guess there's like kissing. Everybody's trying to kiss her in some scene, and it's like,
that's
scene.
The goal, right? The goal is to be the first to kiss her. Which,
see, again, competition. We don't really care. It's just like who can. It's, you know, it's the contest all over again to bring it back.
Mike,
to
you and I have been friends a long time. I don't think we've ever been like, "Hey, watch me kiss this other person." I think it would be a little too intimate, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if you consider a kiss intimate, like most adults do. Yeah, and that's like the cringiest scene, and the whole mouth to mouth thing. The whole thing of them like trying to like force themselves on her is a little. Yeah. I mean, we were saying the racism part, and then they skirt that, but this whole like, I don't know, like, I don't want to say it's not. They're not crossing any lines, but there's just like being so aggressive that it's,
no lines are being crossed. I think they're
okay,
like,
right.
you guys didn't like that racism. How about this like
Pete.
side order of misogyny here?
Yeah. Well, then, I mean, not to jump ahead too much, but I made this note about the movies because I really thought this when I went to the movies. My first thought when he sits down with the popcorn is like, did he cut a hole in that popcorn? Because that's where this show is going.
Yeah. That would definitely be a Sly move.
Yeah.
So before we get there, Sharkies, Sam has said that she has opened a bank account. Of course, that's what you do when you first go to a country. So does that mean she's 18? Is she an exchange student, or is she like a green card citizen at this point?
Good question.
Can you get a bank? We should have had a banker on this episode. Damn it. I don't know if you can get a bank account if you're. You know what? I don't know.
You can. I'm pretty sure you can.
I mean, yeah. If you are living, I'm just saying, as probably a 17-year-old kid, I don't think you can get a bank account.
Not if you're an exchange student.
Oh, and you were saying, since we're at Sharkies, these are actually new arcade machines. They have Cyclops, but they had a couple new ones. Before they only had 3, and I think there's more in this episode. So
Well, I just thought you'd think that, like, the nerd in me at the very beginning, it was the beginning too, the audition part. I'm like literally zooming in to be like, oh, I wonder what arcade machines we have.
Okay, so how often do you find that it's a legit actual arcade machine, or are they always just making one up?
Well,
what's the percentage you'd say?
Well, okay, what I noticed is they're either fake or if they're real, they like modify it in some way to not, they put like a piece of black tape over the.
All right, yeah. Because they do that with the amps in this show, like because they can't have like the PV or Ampeg logos.
Yeah. I'm sure they do the same thing with the arcade machine.
So you were saying about the movies.
Yeah.
So they said specifically they're seeing the new Christian Slater movie. Do you want to guess what movie that was, Mike? Because this came out as I think I should have said at the top of the episode, September 25th, 1993 is when this episode came out. So normally we guess what movie they're going to see, and none of it makes sense. This time they actually said a new Christian Slater movie, and I was fucking gobsmacked. There was a Christian Slater movie that came out 2 weeks before this, to when this was actually aired. He had two movies in 1993. One was Untamed Heart with Marissa Tomei. That came out in February of that year, but that probably wouldn't have been in the theater still. But there's one that came out on September 10th. Do you know what that was?
Oh God, hell no! Well, after was he? Is it it's Christian Slater's the lead in it, or is he like?
I'd say he's definitely in it very prominently.
It's not the one I'm thinking of then.
It's not Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
That's what I was gonna. That's like the only Christian Slater.
That is 1991. How dare you get that wrong? I wish that was still in theaters for 2 fucking years. I'd go see it. It was True Romance came out 2 weeks before this. That's like a pretty badass movie for these fucking high schoolers to go see. That was one of the first ones. Movie. Quentin Tarantino wrote the screenplay for that one.
Oh shit! Okay,
so it's very cocaine fueled that film. So anyway, is it Jake who's on a date with her here?
I forget which guy it is.
I think it was Jake. So they have all made a $50 bet. See who can kiss her first. That is $105 in today's inflation rate.
I knew the bet was coming. You knew it was coming before that. It was like you just again the same. This is like a competitive, manly. Like they don't give a shit about her.
No, and that's writers love that. They love bets and some kind of stakes and gambling amongst children. I don't remember ever doing something like this, but give it time. Maybe I still can.
Yeah, now you can. Right now, I can imagine some creepy 40-year-old dudes doing some shit like this. But kids, come on, really?
So, do you think that they got clearance from Christian Slater's people to mention him like constantly? Not only mention him, but slide dresses up as him. They talk about a Christian Slater keychain. They do an impression of him. You have to get some kind of clearance for that, as Jake is here on a date with this poor unsuspecting girl. She just wants friends.
Yeah, no, dude, I think just like we are saying, like you got to hide the amp names and the arcade names. I'm sure you ain't just dropping Christian Slater and like rolling with it. Somebody had to clear that.
See in the public domain at this point that you could just talk about him and you don't have to pay any money.
Well, we don't have to pay money to talk about him, do we? God, I hope not.
I know.
But in a syndicated TV show, like I think if you're going to make it that we're going to see his movie, you're right. Then the guy dresses up in disguise as him. Mm-hmm. They keep mentioning him.
No, because you definitely have to get clearance when you talk about anybody like that. Because I know in movies, I remember the movie Donnie Darko, they had a hard time like deciding who Jake Gyllenhaal's character was going to masturbate to. And like all these actresses said no until Christina Applegate's like, hell yeah, that's funny. You can use my name. So
there you go.
I imagine if you're going to jerk off to Christian Slater, you have to get a written approval first. So
that's right. Yeah.
So we go to the garage and then we go to Sam's room. It's all weird and overly sexual. It makes everyone uncomfortable. Sam finds out that they're all trying to get with her and she gets upset. I don't know if at this point I didn't know that this was a part of a ploy, but dedication to the bit. Sam pretends to move out. I guess she literally takes down her entire room, including the King Kong poster.
Yep.
And she leaves a note. She leaves a note, right? That said, "You dishonored my family and country."
Right. Is that what it said?
Yeah.
That's good. And country. Not just me. You dishonored my whole country.
Have you ever gotten broken up with and had that exact line given to you? Because that would be devastating.
I feel like if I ever have to break up with somebody again, that's the line.
You have to use it now.
It's dishonored me and my country.
So
great.
I guess this would be the point that you think the guys would learn a lesson about how to treat women, but it almost never happens. And I'm not going to say it's going to happen now. The only reason they have found value in Sam is because she would make a great addition to the band after the audition, right. Which That's is right. Classic, like white old guy writing. And he's like, okay, she's more than just a fuck doll. Like she can actually get my band money.
And a fuck doll. She's a fuck doll that can sing.
She's such a great actress. Like later in the show, like she kind of comes in her own. She's like sassy, and she's definitely the juxtaposition to Tiffany's character in the way that like she's not all, she's chipper and she's bubbly, but she like will sass it up when she needs to be. Whereas Jenny, who just left the show, she was very crotchety, very overly sarcastic to the point that it was like, yo, calm down. You know, like I don't even know what she really brought to the band, but
well, that's
I digress.
They wanted a little bit of the sass, but they learned from their mistakes.
I think so. They softened her up a bit, and she talks a lot. That was a big thing back then with like really chatty people, like Six, Blossom's neighbor. That was her whole thing, was like talking way fast and way too much. That was the archetype, I guess, you know?
Well, people really do that. I mean, that's like a real archetype.
So I get, okay. So, Zach talks about LPEs. That's laughs per episode. And I think we have an allotment. Zach loves the physical comedy of the show. So obviously you don't have to do what he does, but I will say that there was one line in this episode that did make me laugh. And it came from the late, great Michael Cutt, the dad. They're in the kitchen, and I forget what the setup was, but like, they're all like, are we going to get in trouble because Sam has left? It was our fault. And then he's like, you're all going to jail. Which, look,
that was good.
This show doesn't give us a lot. You don't have to like it. It's okay. But the baseline for this show is so low. Probably because Tiffany's playing it, but it's so low that when somebody delivers kind of a well articulated line, I'm like, it almost surprises us.
Yeah. It catches you off guard.
And at this point, I didn't know that this was a whole ruse. This is like double pranking and triple pranking.
They did a good job of hiding the ruse because I didn't really get that either. I thought they were going to have to like go apologize. I figured this was like a real sincere arc. I didn't get that at all either.
Well,
Bravo.
she's you fooled us. She is not going back to China because that would be crazy. She just opened a bank account here. Of course she can't leave. You legally have to stay. And she have to re-enroll in school. Like it would have just been a clusterfuck. She is hiding out in Tiff's room. This is a whole plan to teach the boys a lesson that they won't learn. And they're in Tiff's room and no lessons are learned. They're just like, we want you to be in our band. We like you. You're pretty. Nothing happens. Okay. But they're like, you got to do something for me. And
I love it.
I wasn't prepared. I don't remember this episode. It's like Zach sometimes asks, like, do you remember this episode when it aired? I was like, and this is one that I completely do not remember. So when we go back to Sharkies, I thought they were going to play a show together. I was ill prepared for what all the guys are dressed in drag. This is somehow supposed to be comeuppance for trying to kiss Sam. Do you know how to explain this at all?
Well, it's very like emasculating. I mean, I'll tell you here, I thought it was funny. I didn't get this either. And like when that scene starts and they come walking in and the laugh tracks, woo! I'm like, what's happening here? It took me like a minute to be like, oh, that's dudes in drag. Like I didn't even get what was happening.
Okay, so Zach and I are queer boys. But I want to see your assessment. Who looked the best? Ooh. Who looked the best, like when Bugs Bunny dresses up as a girl bunny kind of thing?
Right. Well, like I was saying to begin with, man, all these kids are good looking. Really, even the dudes when they dress. I thought it was this sleazy manager guy that Noah was hitting on. Right, he kept looking in the mirror and he's like, "Never seen on me."
So Michael Caine has like, he is like this sick ass body for like a supposedly 16-year-old kid. Like he is completely ripped and cut, and so is Tony to some degree. But I honestly think like Matt looks the best in drag. Like he looked the most feminine, and I think he just pulled it off the best. Yes.
The keyboard. Yes. No. Totally. Yes. You're right.
He's got legs that go all the way. He's just like this slender, petite, hot girl in this.
They got me too when like all the football guys start hitting on them.
Yeah. And again, that's also a ruse.
I didn't really. Yeah, they got me there too because
every trope, every time you can literally look at every fucking sitcom. Every sitcom does this. Even just look at the TGIF ones. Perfect Strangers, Full House, Family Matters. They all had drag episodes, and without fail, these guys would be hit on by some burly dude who did not know that they were in drag, because it was just such an easy punchline back then to just like mock transvestites and transsexuals, and you would do that by having some unsuspecting dude be like, "You look hot," even though they look ridiculous in their outfit and they're not passing whatsoever. So. Yeah. But there it is. They somehow got these woke football players to like play along with this prank. And I'm like, this is so much effort done to teach these dudes a lesson, and then don't like, because they tell them right away that like everyone's just fucking with you, and they're like, you know what, that felt mean to be objectified like that. I'm gonna change my ways.
They learned their lesson. Dude, actually, I thought the ending mechanic was good like that. Especially, they caught me that the whole thing was a ruse with their moving out. Then they caught me off guard with the drag. Totally caught me again that all of the burly dudes were actually in on the thing. And then they're like, yeah, how do you fucking feel when you're like objectifying? The guys are like, oh, good point. I'm like, wow, bravo. Fucking 90s sitcom.
I think that's called the Prestige. You just got all three acts all at the same time of this big fucking trick.
It fucking worked, man. It fucking worked. That ending was clutch. That's the best part of that episode, was that ending.
I got a question. Speaking of the ending, like, wait, before, like, why were they doing girl voices though? Was the plan to just go in and look silly and then get hit on? But why they're pretending to be girls? They're doing female voices.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, Pete, have you ever dressed in drag?
I haven't. Zach did a bunch. He would be the perfect person to ask.
I have not either, but I'm just going to guess if I actually dressed in drag, I would probably just I can't imagine just walking into like, the arcade. I
don't think you do the voice. The whole thing is that like you're not supposed to be you're not supposed to be fooling anybody. It's a performative thing, but it's this whole art form. So the girl voices doesn't make any sense. I guess it's just a mystery we're never going to know. The other mystery is, are they there for a show? Because all of their instruments are on stage. This I think is a pickup shot. I definitely think this is a reshoot. I think that the end of the episode was supposed to be in Tiff's room, and instead they're like, we need another laugh. We have to go shoot. And I think they're going to have a Sharkies episode with actual music coming up, and it's going to be the same extras. So like, mark my words. I'm going to call you in the middle of the night when I see this episode, whether you're on the episode or not. And I'm going to be like, see, I was right. Because so they always bring their garage equipment to Sharkies. They have like, Tiff got a new bass amp. This is what we get excited about on this show. Tiff got a new bass amp, but otherwise it's like these two dinky practice amps. Yeah. And we found out, because they had an amp blow in one episode, that's their whole PA. It blew because Tony was singing out of it. So,
but it's a little amp.
Sharkies does not even have its own PA.
Yeah.
But their equipment's there. I thought that they were going to play a show in that drag, and we were robbed.
Yeah. Because that would have been, if there was one thing that would have made that ending better, it was at the end. Okay, we learned our lesson. Yeah, no,
I want to see Jake and his little kicks doing a solo in that dress. It would have looked great. It just ended on a weird freeze frame, and I guess everyone's friends, and she's gonna stay there now. Now she's in the band. That's kind of what happened with Jake when they like literally asked him on stage at Sharkies, like, do you want to be in our band? And I don't know, Mike, you've been to a bunch of bands. Has that ever happened? Have you ever hired or fired somebody on stage?
all the time. Of course. Wait, wasn't that the premise of like a Mark Wahlberg movie once where he goes to see some concert and then the singer
Rockstar? Are you talking that where he joins the band? Yeah, basically.
He's just a guy in the crowd. They're like, and he's singing along. And the singer's like, "All right, fuck, you do it, man." And he like gets and he joins the band.
Mark Wahlberg, what a tool bag.
He's got
I never
big
thought
dong
about
now.
this before, but do you think that maybe they have another set of instruments that they just keep on that stage and they keep a set in
They
the
don't
garage?
have that stage. That stage, did you notice there's no fucking arcades there? Like, look it up. They take the arcades out every single time they have a stage.
Yeah,
So
that probably wheels right out. But do you think they just leave the instruments on there and they have
we've
another
seen
set
the
of
same. We've seen the same. God damn it, we see the same instruments because Tiffany never changes her bass strings because they're all fucking spaghetti up on the head.
I'm wrong.
I've been writing my senator every week for her to change her bass strings, and she hasn't done it.
There's spaghetti up on the head, like she didn't cut the strings off the head.
Oh, dude, it's terrible. They're just like flailing everywhere.
How did I not notice that?
I don't know.
Too busy paying attention to her hands, not moving to the fucking song correctly.
There's a very specific part that I'm gonna freeze frame and do a video on, but like Sam is singing, but right in the background is like Tiffany all over this, and I'm gonna try to tab it out and play exactly what she was playing. So stay tuned for that on Patreon. So yeah, that's the end of the episode. Like that, that's the introduction to literally 1/5 of this band for the rest of the series. It's just bonkers.
I know, I gotta hand it to him. I think in general, like as you're describing this, it used to be about the family. I mean, I'll give them like there's some, they were like, well, try something, it doesn't work, try something else. And he said like the other singer was too sassy, so we'll get one that's just a little less sassy.
Yeah, it's like a Goldilocks scenario completely.
Yeah,
because I mean, I can tell you because like Zach's not here, but like once Matt leaves, they bring in Sly's cousin, and he's also a little effeminate. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like he's soft spoken and stuff, but he's not as soft as Matt. He's like a little harder. So it's the in between Jake and Matt that they bring in, and he's the new keyboard player. So now you have completely filled it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's what I was saying. Like by the end of the show, at the end of the 5th season, it's just going to be she's going to be amazing. All the jokes are amazing, and everybody's role is perfect. And the intro, like music matches up to the.
Oh my god! They start making like sick ass music. We thought like, would it be funny one day if they just started playing like some sick prog music? Like all of a sudden they're playing in 7/4 time, and they're like triplets and paradiddles. I'm like, what the hell? And like nobody's ready for it. And then the next week they just go back to like this dreamy pop
bullshit. It's the 90s. At some point, someone needs to plug a distortion pedal in.
I really hope I see a distortion pedal in this show. Like there has to be.
Well, what at one point. You said when they were the California Nightmares, still no distortion, though, huh?
No.
That would have been the opportunity, man.
Dirt the whole time. I mean, so we have heard that this show kind of strays a little away from the band stuff, and I think had they kept going with it, they would have had to do something silly with pedals at some point. But I think they kind of stick to more like teenage love triangles and shit like that. So we'll see.
There's no episode where they're designing a pedal board.
That's bullshit. I think every show should have that. Even like
every musician has to build a pedal board.
Right.
That's what's wrong with that This Is Us show. They didn't have enough pedal board building.
Well, and if they're kids, they got to make them out of like a skateboard or a 2x4. Didn't you have a suitcase, Pete? I remember you used to have like a
okay, let's talk about pedal boards. Like I had a suitcase. I had my first real one was a tackle box. You turn the tackle box upside down, and the part of the tackle box, like a fish tackle box, that you would use to cut the fish open. That's where I put the pedals because it was like had a nice sturdy surface, and I used the little tackle box things where you're supposed to put oars and shit, whatever they're called. I had picks and I had extra strings and like I had chords and stuff in there, and then I moved up to a sniper rifle case and then a long rifle case. That shit was so heavy, man. Like my shit's heavy now, but it's Gear Talk.
Gear Talk is a preview of what you get in the after show if you're a Patreon member.
Well, nobody wants to hear that. Fuck you guys.
Wait. I wanted to make one last comment about the ending credits, if I could, if this is the right time.
Sure.
I thought the ending credits, music and video matched much more.
I think
closely.
so too. I think that's definitely the superior song.
Yeah. Well, then here's the other thing is weird though. Where the fucking video for the ending credits is so washed out. It looks like it was made on a camcorder and then sat out in the sun for a month. And
that's
you notice
the California sun. Suck.
Yeah, what are you? It's the worst video quality of the whole show. Is that ending credits, and it's beautiful. It's like a beautiful sunset and shit. And the music's good, but it looks so grainy and fucked up. And I'm like, why does that look all almost like somebody else shot that? Like they got some stock footage from somewhere else.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the bootleg YouTube video that you're watching is up to your high definition standards.
Sorry, dude. It's not 4K.
Well, I mean, the whole thing you could tell at age, but something, I don't know, go back and watch those ending credits. They look different, man. They look extra special.
You go watch the ending credits. We've watched every episode of this.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
You fucking amateur. So
I think one episode was enough for now.
So, Mike, we give out awards on this show real quick. We do, and I think we're going to keep it, even though she's not around. So we give out the Jenny, which is the worst mimed performance. We give out the Tony Award to the person that is the best mimed. And then we give out the Tiffy Award for the person you'd most want to be in a band with.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so...
Well, wait, is it just who? Yeah, anybody in the whole universe I'm picking, or you mean in the show?
Anybody in the band, or in the episode. It doesn't have to be somebody in the band. So obviously the miming stuff. So who would your Tony Award go to? That's the person that mimed playing their instrument the best.
Oh, well, I want to say the guitarist. They're saying he maybe kind of. Well, he did mime it still, but he looked the best doing it.
I think so too. I have to agree with that. And so your Jenny. We named this after Jenny because she would pancake all her stuff, and she was really bad at the pretending to play the piano. So
for the worst mime.
Yes, worst mime. Who would you give that to?
I gotta say, I keep saying it, Tiffany, all over the place.
For sure.
Tiffany, it's what the fuck is going on there?
And your Tiffy Award is the person you just want to be in a band with. It could be anybody. It could be Sly. It could be the dad. It could be anybody.
Wow, you mean the dad? No. I'd say the drummer. Just because everybody needs a good drummer, man. Sure, good drummer.
Yeah, Tony's great. That's good. I have to agree with those.
Yeah.
George, you want to ask Mike what the next episode is going to be about?
I do. Yeah, actually. We have a game, Mike, where every week we look at the title of the next episode and we try and guess what the episode will be about.
I love it.
So, season 2, episode 4. The title is Sleazy Rider.
Ooh.
So
man.
you can aim high. Just give us the plot of what you think this is going to be based on your extensive knowledge of California Dreams.
Yeah, of the one episode that I've ever seen.
Yeah, you tourist, you California Dreams story and like the rest of us.
Okay, so I'm going to guess that somebody has a motorcycle. Sleazy Rider. Yeah. So there's, and I'm going to guess it's the real cool, slick fucking guitar player.
Jake.
Okay, sorry, I'm still about the names. So
you're
Jake,
getting some traction. You're on a roll.
Yeah, so Jake gets a motorcycle, and he's driving it around. He's being Mr. Cool. No, then one of the other guys, the manager, doesn't know how to ride, but he takes it anyway and pretends like she's the cool guy to try to pick up some chicks. But then, I don't know, something happens where he wrecks it, or I don't know, or they find out it's not really him, and... What? Am I right? Did I get it?
Jake leaves his prized motorcycle in Matt's care when he goes out of town. However, he regrets it when he returns to find that Sly took it for a joyride, hurting both the bike and Tony in the process.
Dude, you called it.
Bravo.
Zach has never gotten any of them right.
Zach has never even gotten anywhere close.
You know why? You know why, guys? Right. Because his head is too far in it. He's too in it. He can't see. You can't see the forest for the trees, man. You have perception.
I mean, he goes hard. He's like he puts in time travel and trophy hunting and stuff. He like goes for it, but you kept it on a level, and that's exactly what happens. So you won't be here for it unless you want to be.
I'm still surprised.
But yeah,
you're welcome to watch along and listen to the show.
Watch along.
I certainly will. I did listen to the podcast. It's great, man. You guys kill it.
Okay.
I'm so honored to be on it.
This is a real silly idea that we take overly seriously, and I've just been having a great time, and now we're like getting in the thick of season 2, and this is a massively different season than the first season. So we are rolling with it, and we want to thank everybody that has listened to Surf Dudes with Attitude and follow along. Like, please tell a friend, subscribe. For everybody that supports us on Patreon, thank you. Like, stay tuned for the Encore show, where we're going to talk a lot about some fun stuff. Anything in particular, George?
We're going to talk about gear. We're going to talk about bands, the bands that both of you guys have been in. One thing I do want to touch on briefly, if you could do us a favor and rate us on whatever podcast client you use, that would be a big help. Also, if you could leave a review. surfdudeswithattitude.com is where you find everything about the show, and californiadreamspodcast.com is where you can help support the show. Mike, before we leave, what are your band's names? What's your record label? How do people find you?
Differential Productions is the record label. Masuji is my sort of main band right now in Denver. We're just kind of finishing up a string of shows. And then the Denver Rock Scene podcast. Check us out. We're all over the place.
The worst name for a podcast, but a great show nonetheless.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with music at all.
Right to the point.
No.
Anyway,
it is a great show.
Mike, thanks so much for coming on, jumping in. We'll be back, and Zach will be here. So stay tuned. Follow our Instagram page for a little more detailed episode stuff. So and until then, thanks for listening to Surf Dudes with Attitude. This is Pete from New York City.
I'm the producer, George Howell from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and our special guest.
It's Mike Zucker from Denver, Colorado.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-sies.
All right, moving on to the extended show. Mike, what's your experience with foreign exchange students? Have you ever had one? Did you ever know anyone that's had one?
No, and no. Oh, you only asked 2 questions, but still no to both of them. I've never known an exchange student or had one or no.
We didn't have one, but our neighbor had one. I remember we had a guy from Thailand, and he ended up, like, I don't know, he was really super nice and cool and quiet, and he just hung out with us for an entire, like, do you remember him, George? I think, like, he just hung out with us for basically a year, and then he went away, and we never heard from him again. But, like, he would just like go with the flow. His English was, like, pretty good, obviously better than my Thai, and I remember when he left, he gave my mom like this like silk handmade like runner for a dresser, and it was just like gorgeous.
Oh, wow.
And I remember him just doing all this like dumb shit with us, and I was like, this isn't how all Americans are. I hope you know.
My neighbor down the street, both of his parents were teachers, so they would get a new exchange student every year. And they'd come from different countries. They had like Spain, France, Australia. So it was cool getting to know people from.
I find that bullshit. When somebody's an exchange student from like Australia or the United Kingdom, I mean, come on, how much culture are we really learning?
Yeah,
like you get somebody get somebody from Canada. Like, come on, that's not that big of a difference.
So while we were watching this, though, I was thinking about there was a French exchange student that went to our school that every single guy in the school was trying to hit on. And it was funny watching all of them fail miserably.
A French girl. Yes.
Yeah.
I think I remember her. Yeah. We hung out with a guy named Mark from Germany. I remember that guy for a little while. I think because they're new, they're weird, and they hung out with the other weird kids, you know.
Well, any of these exchange students you guys are talking about, did anyone try to get them to join their band?
You know what? We didn't have a band. I think
did not.
I fucked up there.
Yeah, you did.
This long-running bet to kiss her. I'm currently last, but at any point I could bring it back. Okay.
It was funny watching everyone like try to do the same kind of contest though and fail miserably,
Yeah.
and her laugh about how like terrible they all were.
I'm gonna lose 50 francs on this bet. Just watch.
50.
Have you guys ever competed over a woman before?
The two of us, you mean?
George has these questions, and sometimes these episodes do not give anything, so he really has to reach far. I don't think we're scumbags. I don't think that we have had to compete over a woman. I don't think Mike and I have the same taste anyway.
No, not at all. And we never competed over a woman. But this does, man, I don't know if I should go there, though. But this makes me think of like a certain contest that we had, which was not that bad. People were with each other's partners, but we did have a contest over a certain festival of how many times could you and your person get busy, and like whoever had the most, had to, or we bought them dinner or something.
Yes, I think that was a fun contest. We were all playing Mike and I were in a video game band for a long time, and we'd get invited to play these festivals. And the point was like, how many times? Because we all basically had partners. Like, how many times can you and your partner have sex, but still hang out? You couldn't just you couldn't bail. Like the whole point was was pushing yourself to get busy, as Mike says, and then also like stay up all night and hang out. And I remember we brought one of our couple friends who were not really in our group of friends, and they spent the entire time just fucking because they wanted to win. They got very competitive, and we're like, we barely saw you. Like, you missed the whole point of this.
I know. I remember that dinner, buying them dinner. Like, you guys won the contest, but you lost the weekend because you missed all the fun shit. What are you gonna do? You're gonna go home to your partner.
And I think Mike lost every single time because he was like, I want to play video games. I want to play Cyclops, the arcade game, so like I can have sex with my live-in girlfritime anytime I want.
Sam was living with his girlfriend, but
yeah, it's true.
This is what musicians do when they're bored.
Well, I mean, most times musicians don't have partners because musicians make shitty partners. Yeah.
Because of shit like this. No, but you know what, Pete, like that contest lives in infamy. I don't know if I said when I had like Megaran and Dan Mulcannon come in to do this thing here years ago, like the Game Over Denver thing. They brought it up to me. Both of them were like, didn't you guys in your band have this contest? And I'm like,
oh, that makes me cringe. That's terrible. People just know about this.
Know about this? And they're chuckling. They're like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm like, that's weird, dude. Somehow the secret got out.
Oh, that's embarrassing. We've done so many other things in that video game world, and that's what's been remembered.
You know what it is, though, man? I think we were sort of known for that because most of these really nerdy metal bands, it's just all dudes. If they had a girlfriend, she was like behind lock and key. We had that one where we had all the girls come out in like skimpy outfits and do little like dances while we were playing. Like we were always like, nah, fucking's cool. Being a nerd is great, but we also like sex.
I think that's on your epitaph. That's great, Mike.
Yeah, that's my perfect epitaph. Being a nerd is great, but sex is still.
Mike's also a dad, so he lives it. He talks the talk and walks the walk. So
that's true.
So you guys have been in a bunch of bands. Have you ever had open auditions like this episode did? Like, have you ever just like I know. You run out of band members, you try and replace someone, and you bring someone in. But have you ever just had open auditions where anyone can just walk up, from the line and try out, kind of a thing?
I've never had an audition like that, but I remember we have had. There's been so many drummers in my band, You Bred Raptors, but then also this place is haunted. I think once when Mike left the band, we were having drum auditions, and I think we saw like 4 people in one day or something. And there was this old dude who will live in infamy, at least in our circle. His name was Jack. He was 60 something years old, and he came in with a pair of drumsticks. He didn't listen to any of our songs, and he's just like, I got nothing else, man. I don't want to go home to my wife. Like, can we just jam a little bit? And so we felt real bad, and we just and you know what? He was pretty good. Yeah. And then at the end, I think he could read the room, but he was like, if you guys ever just want to jam out again, let me know. And I was like, I don't know how well you'd fit. I don't know if you and your wife could come to this video game convention with us and fuck all weekend. So that didn't work out. But it's weird because you find these people on Craigslist, and then you kind of we did it for Purebred Raptors, I think we had 6 people come in one day for drum stuff, and it's tough because like you hear somebody good, you just want the process to be done, and the first person you hear, they might not be great, but you're like, well, I can make this work. We can make it work, because you just think that nobody's going to fill that void. And like Mike said, sometimes you get somebody temporary and it just kind of works naturally and organically.
Yeah, and stick around. That's kind of been my experience. I've never had like open auditions to the public, but Craigslist, man, even now, I still hear people tell me now, like, oh yeah, I found this band on Craigslist that I'm playing with for 5 years. Craigslist, still with the fucking. But yeah, if you want a band,
where else do musicians meet? Like, tell me. I'm genuinely curious. Facebook, I think, has like a Musicians Connect that people have talked about. There's apps for it now that you can literally swipe left or right on like finding other musicians to play with.
Tinder,
like Verbo or something. I've like looked into it because I was like trying to like find a side project, and lo and behold, I found a podcast instead. But I mean, Craigslist, it's still works for some people. Casual encounters, baby.
Yeah, and that's most of the people I've ever auditioned for. They were from Craigslist. Times when I've auditioned for bands, pretty much always from Craigslist. So
I've had terrible auditions from Craigslist, but I've met.
Oh yeah. I've
met some great people. Ironically, the people I have in my band now that are like the best that I've ever worked with, no Craigslist. So maybe it was not a good idea.
Something. Yeah.
Every roommate that I've ever gotten, except for one, came from Craigslist, and they were all terrible people.
The whole roommate angle, that's awful too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But also, where are you going to find a roommate?
Right.
Facebook Marketplace again.
So for those who haven't heard of it, both of you are or have been in the band This Place is Haunted. I don't know the status of that band right now.
we Mike and I started together, the two of us, and we brought a drummer in, and we were a 3-piece, and then we were a 4-piece, and then back to a 3-piece, and then a 5-piece. No, then a 2-piece, then a 5-piece.
Yeah.
And then a 4-piece. And yeah, we've gone through some iterations, and I guess right now we got something cooking. Long-term plan, but it's just we almost had a reunion show. I don't mean to interrupt if that's not even your question, but we almost had a reunion.
Not, but go ahead.
We got offered a reunion show like last year, and that we had to turn down. Was
that for the beer?
Yeah, there's a brewery that was naming a beer after us, and they're like, "We'll pay you this much money to come out and just like play some tunes." And Mike and I were down, and one of our old drummers was like very much down.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't get the keyboard player, we couldn't get the other guitarist, and we couldn't get the other guitarist. So it was like we had to turn it down. Fucking stupid olds.
For those who do not know, despite your having one original album, most of your music for that band was video game cover music. How, being that you guys were in a cover band as long as you were, and now that, it's 20 years later, how do you feel about cover bands now? Because it used to be the joke back then, especially when we were at State College, about how everything is a shitty cover band. So where do you guys land on cover bands now? Because I know older people now that all they do is play covers.
Can make a living, man. That's the first thing I think is like musicians I know that I've had on my podcast, in fact, that just do all cover bands.
Like wedding bands too, yeah.
Wedding bands, yeah, all corporate gigs. The other thing, here's a big thing I noticed recently. I don't know if this is just a Denver thing or an age thing or what, but most of the cover bands I know now too are tribute bands. So
okay.
Yeah, we're a Ween cover band. We play all Ween songs, or like we're a Led Zeppelin cover band and all we play is Led Zeppelin songs. And that generates a big enough crowd. You can make enough money doing that. But that seems to be like at least people that I know in sort of my scene.
Yeah, no.
My in-laws, they go out to see a bunch of, tribute bands.
I mean, that's you're like doubling down. You're like, I love this band so much. I'm going to dress like them. I'm going to name our band after some goofy song that they did.
Yeah, right.
Like you just look up the amount of Steely Dan tribute bands out there. Like it's astonishing. But I think we always were like, fuck cover bands, and this was like our backdoor in. We could not play shows if we didn't play covers in some of these places. So this was our way of doing that. But in all actuality, I think like we all wanted to kind of play some cool covers, and this was our, you know, our foot in the door. But it's strange now. Like I've kind of come like done a 180 on covers. I kind of wish we would have done them sooner. I just had people in the band that were like adamantly against it even more than I. But just this past, like I literally got back from tour today, and we played a festival on Saturday that we were headlining, and like we played an ABBA song that we learned, and it was ABBA and the Bee Gees like mashed up together, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like these songs fucking slap, and when you put it with your voice and your cadence, people enjoy that. Like you're keeping the original vibe, and you're making it your own. There's nothing wrong with that. What kind of annoys me is like you asked, like, what do I think about them today? Like now it's a whole industry, and it's just inundated with people from YouTube and Instagram, and that's all they do. They just cover shit that's not theirs. They don't really create anything. They just do it for quick clicks and likes and subscriptions, and I get it that we're all cogs in that machine, but I don't know. It's just, if it's fun and it works with your set, it shouldn't be your whole set. I still think covers are a way to showcase your talent and show people your original shit. I always thought it was this totally it came in a package deal, but the original stuff is what we're selling, you know. And I think with This Place Is Haunted, I think we mainly wanted to be an original band, and we both liked video game music, so we did that. But
well, we kind of, I think we like naturally, slowly, we were all original, and then we'd play like one or two video game songs, and people just love that. And we love learning it because they're challenging too. Where we're like, well, we'll just do a little more of that. We'll do a little more of that.
Yeah.
And then there's our whole scene was, the whole scene was developing too. And then you're part of the scene. And we definitely slowly made this switch of like, we're an original band that plays like one or two game covers to we're a game cover band that usually busts out like one or two originals.
It was really weird for you guys too, because you got almost immediate success on the video game cover stuff, because
we rode that wave, man.
Before you guys even had a fully defined set of original music, you got pulled in to do MagFest, which is all video game cover stuff.
That was
that
like
you guys kind of rushed to do, and you got really big success for that. So I
think that was right place, right time. And
absolutely, yeah.
I don't think it'll ever like that lightning in a bottle won't ever happen again. Like the video game scene now is just completely different. Mike has kind of held on to some of it by like revamping sound, and he does like a kick-ass like chiptune set, you know, that he plays too, and it's fun to watch. But a lot of this stuff in the video game world is not fun to watch. It's very formulaic, and it's very stale, and it's very heavily EDM and backing track produced. But there's just no, I don't know, the rock band scene is just not there anymore with video game music. It's just shifted.
And it used to be there. It used to be like Mini Boss's Advantage, you know, bands like us where we're like, you know, we're like a rock band that's playing this. And you're right, now you're either electronic or you're metal, or it's very waxy. And I think people like that. They want it very like clean and technical, but there's like no heart in it, you know?
Yeah.
Which I know it's video game songs, but man, when you play a video game song, those old games with some heart, dude, fucking kill.
There's definitely no longer a equivalent to Chromelodian on scene.
Oh, there never will be. I mean,
no, those guys were great.
And like we were trying to emulate what a band like Chromelodian was doing, which was like half originals, half video game stuff, and you didn't know what you were going to get, and they were equally good at both. I don't think anybody was clamoring for any of our originals. Unfortunately, they just want to hear like the video game stuff. But it's still
like the Carpet,
It taught us to. They had some crowd favorites, but it taught us to be better musicians, and I'll cherish those days. I mean, because it's so cliche to say like, oh my God, the best band times I had was like in college, because like I didn't have any responsibilities. Like I was just in a band with my best friends. If we made money, it just literally went to other shit in the band. And now I have an LLC, and we have to do tax stuff, and we have an attorney, and we have an accountant,
you
and
corporate
I've totally sold out. And it's just not fun. And like, when you're on stage, it's fun, but getting there was tough. But I don't know, you just had your ride or dies with you at all times. It's just like, I miss that and it makes me nostalgic. But like I've seen what the video game scene has turned into, and I don't. It's a bummer, you know.
For anyone listening that has not heard of or is not aware of Chromelodian, I highly recommend them. Those guys were just killer.
Yeah.
We mentioned gear briefly, and we were talking about Pete's first pedal board. Mike, what was your experience with gear getting started? What was like the thing that really got you excited about putting stuff together?
Sure.
I mean, you make preamps. So.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I was always interested in electronics and building stuff, but I didn't really put that together with music stuff till much later. I think as a kid, like I had mostly crap because that's all I could afford, like a lot of kids. But it's same with like effects. And I mean, I had like the cheapest amps that would just get I just wanted to get loud enough. I didn't even care about tone. I'm a kid, you know? And my guitars, I would say, I just want one that where the strings don't break. This is literally how I'm thinking. Like, I don't care what it looks. I just don't. I'm sick of the strings breaking. So I, and I had like an all-in-one pedal thing that sounded terrible that I used for years and years.
Who made that?
Digitech. Digitech. Fuck, I don't remember what it's called. The RP 2000 or something.
Yeah, George. I don't know if you were
forever.
I don't know if you were around, but there was a setting on there called the Riff-O-Matic, and all Mike had to do was hit a note, and it would create arpeggios for there. And he would bust that out, and we're like, "That's cheating, but it's awesome."
Right.
Dude, I have to say, even though that all-in-one pedal board thing was terrible, the Riff-O-Matic was like a pretty cool arper on there. I have a bunch of ARP pedals now.
I mean, but
like,
now keyboard and synth settings, that's what they do. Like there's entire patches that have just done that, and that entire people's DJ careers are just modeled after that one thing. Yeah. I think everybody kind of had like when you first start, you get a pedal, the here and a pedal there, but then you get like the all-in-one, and the first one people usually got around our age was the Zoom pedal. And it was two pedals in one. And you could cycle through like A through F, and then each one had like 4 different settings, and it was all of them sounded like garbage. But you know, you saw so many kids bringing that instead of a tuner to a show, and that was their whole sound.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was at State College where I think somebody we had played with had one of those. It's line 6, the green delay line 6.
Yes, yeah.
Somebody had that, and I was like, oh, shit, I need to get that. And I bought it, and that was the beginning. I think I pretty much sold the multi-effects thing and just slowly started building pedals.
Yep.
And built my first pedal board was This Place Is Haunted, I remember. And I bought like a pedal train, expensive.
I was trying to remember what year's first one, and it was a pedal train.
Yeah. I still have it. Still
carrying that around.
Yeah. It weighs 1 million pounds. Stupid.
I really like the idea of having everything closed up. So like people were doing skateboards and shit, but I was like, I want to have this in a suitcase or something that I can like walk around with. So I was more interested in the MacGyver aspect of tinkering with it and stuff. But looking back on my first board, like everything was daisy chained. I didn't know anything about capacitance or like how many watts one took over another. Like now it's like I have power draws. I have a whole like spreadsheet basically of the draws and like how many are each on what, and like it's just a whole different beast now, because like back then I'm sure there's so many fucking sound issues. You get hissing, you know, none of these pedals are true bypass. It was a shit show, but I would have loved to like gone back and seen exactly what I did, because they were all fucking Digitech or Boss, and I'll still stand by Boss. I don't know what you like.
Boss? Yeah.
Shit, they're built like tanks, and they're simple. And they're great, and they have like good warranty, and the people that work there like are pretty good, even though it's owned by Roland, I think. So,
Boss pedals were great. I was looking up pedals not too long ago. I can't remember why, because I barely play guitar. Mm-hmm. I can't believe how expensive pedals got. I remember getting them for like $20-$40 back in the day. Now they're like $120-$200 just for the same pedal I had back then.
Well, there's a lot of one-trick pony pedals that like have a real small footprint now, and like that's kind of like my jam. Like if I need you to do one thing well and consistently, and I can knock you around and it's fine, and you don't take up a lot of space. So a lot of times you get these great pedals and they're huge and they cost a lot of money, and you really only find one sound. And unless you want to be like shoegazing and bending over and constantly dialing it in for a set, you're not going to be using more than one set. It might have a preset, you can save shit, but otherwise you're really just using one. So
I kind of agree. Well, live, and I've got a million pedals. I've got a bunch of big, expensive, crazy, but all recording. All that stuff is for tracking, most of it. Live, man, totally, I'm right on the same page as Peat. Is like, what's the footprint? Each one has one setting or an expression pedal. Sometimes I'll have an expression pedal to like turn, one knob with my foot, basically.
I have so many great pedals. I have pedals that you've given me, and I've given you pedals. Like, it's a great world. And when I get done playing, people want to talk to me about it. And it's one thing that I feel like I at least, I might not know all the tech stuff behind it, but like I have the experience behind it, and we can talk about it. And like, there's great pedals on my board that I literally use for maybe 10 seconds out of an entire set, but I don't want to get rid of it because like I've dialed it in and it sounds fucking, it's awesome. Like that sustain pedal you gave me, it's like a $400 pedal, and I use it literally for a few parts. And then when we play, but when we play the big one, when we actually use that fucking pedal, it's like epic and swells and it sounds great. And I'm like, I can't get rid of it now. Like, it takes up so much room, but it's worth it. Big
and heavy. But yeah, right. There's like a whole culture. And I mean, could you imagine a show like nobody's going to come up to you going like, oh, we're a nice Digitech all in one. But
I will say before we like,
I love your little Zoom pedal. That's so cool.
You know what I had on there though? Up until recently, I have a sponsorship, so I had to take it off. But like the first pedal I ever used, I put back on the board. Like, it was a Ibanez Sound Tank Slam Punk pedal. And it worked for my bass. Like, because when I play distortion, I sometimes lose the low and the high gets fucking washed out. This was the perfect blend. And the guy in Yellow Tango used it too. But that's the only person I've ever seen that has like used that. And I found a cheap one for like $30 from Mexico. And I bought that one. Otherwise, they were going for like $500 because they were... Wow. Not because they were good, but because like nobody had them anymore.
Yeah, they're rare.
And I was like, this shit is awesome. Like, it brought me back. My mom bought it for me for $30, like George said, when I was in 7th grade. So
yeah,
you never know.
You had to take it off. You couldn't just put a black piece of tape off it.
It's just like I got a sponsorship pedal, so I was like, I should use that one. It is more professional, so. And plus, like, the tapping part wasn't good. It would like not turn on when I needed it to. So it's gonna stay here, for the recording. Yeah.
Well, dude, I think like I noticed live, some of the stuff, especially live, that I'll use. So I'm like most go-to pedals are very stock, cheap, regular crap that have been around for many, many years. And all these like big, fancy, expensive things, like I said, they're sitting in my studio, and maybe there's one on my board for this one part that's really cool. But so much of my regular go-to is like just not expensive, off the shelf, old stuff.
But those fancy ones, like, they are more prone to, like, even if you dial it in, it's going to sound different in different setups. So unless you have like a sick preset function where you know exactly how it's going to sound in different PA systems, then don't do it. So that's all. Like the big Sky pedal I have. It's a $600 pedal. Beautiful Strymon pedal. I can't take it out live. There's just no fucking way. It's just that is a studio pedal. I said it here.
I have one too, and I would never play that live. In fact, I've seen people bring them to live shows playing them. I'm like, you realize this is like a very nuanced, beautiful.
It's a fucking computer. It's a computer delay pedal.
But it's a reverb. I'm like, you can't even hear it in that room. When you kick that on, unless you like saturate the shit out of it, I can't even hear the fucking nuance that this $600 pedal is making for me.
Yeah.
I'm in a room. There's reverb in the room right now. You don't really need to add a whole lot more to that. So there's something there too. I think of like a lot of them are really nuanced. Where if you play them live, you are not going to hear all that cool sonic shit that's happening in there.
Yeah. The Strymon bridge, that's what they call it when you have $3,000 to spend on 3 pedals and raise it up. So that's it.
Last question I have. You guys have played together forever, but you've done a good portion of it as a long distance band. What is that like? I remember talking to you guys before you moved away about how it was forever ago. LL Cool J was developing it was going to be software called Boom Dizzle.
What?
It's like pretty much, it's like what Zoom became. Everyone just
But
doing
it's
shit over
for
Zoom.
musicians.
It was like, a decade and a half ago for musicians. And that was the exact reaction you gave me 15, 20 years ago. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's fucking stupid.
At least we know now who started COVID. It was fucking LL Cool J trying to get this off the ground.
But you guys have worked in that to some kind of element, sending stuff back and forth either through email or file sharing, and also done video stuff like that. What is it like being in a long distance band? What software do you use? What's your processes for making stuff when you're apart?
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I think what's definitely been the most challenging is trying to put together a live show over 1,600 miles is hard. It's really, like you said, if LL Cool J fucking came out with his thing, maybe that would have helped. But like traveling just to practice and like, well, you'll learn this part and I'll learn that part and we'll get together and it'll magically work. That's really hard. But I do think, and not even just this place is hard, although that's probably the biggest project that I've done that. But like making records long distance, the Postal Service did it. Like it's not. That's not that out of the realm, because the track is the track, and you send it, and I play to the track, and you play. That's okay. But man, making a live show long distance, it's a lot more work. It's like literally 10 times more effort planning work than if you're just in a band playing together every week.
Yeah, no, there's definitely apps for it now. Remember, we were trying to use one over the pandemic where like you would, I forget what it's called, but you could. It was kind of like GarageBand. It wasn't Boom Dizzle. Sorry, LL. But you could start a track basically, and then somebody could like play on top of it, kind of thing. And it was the whole was it Band Lab? I think it was called Band Lab, and it was just one more fucking thing taking up room on your phone. That was basically like the quintessential epitome of this could have been an email. Because that's really what it is. With the onset of email, even if you live in the same town, you're still sending tracks to each other to get an idea, and you're still listening on your phone. So it's made it easier that way. And Zoom has made it easier, and the pandemic kind of exacerbated it, where people could play live together. But nothing compares to being on a stage with each other or being in a rehearsal studio writing something together. And I think a lot gets lost in translation when you're trying to do this shit long distance. But like my cellist lives upstate, and so that's how we have to kind of communicate. But when we get together, we get like 10 times more shit done when we're actually facing each other. So it's got to be a combination of the both,
All right. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Anything you want to add before we go?
No, I really appreciate everyone following the show and supporting here on Patreon. I just got back from a tour, and it's kind of reminded me like why I do this. And this, this podcast is silly, but it does come from like stemming from a love of music and silly fucking 90s shows. So thanks for sticking around for the extra shit that makes us human. And Mike, thanks for filling in for Zach last minute. That's really awesome. And we'll see our patrons next time. Thank you.
So we're just gonna pull a Jenny here, and Zach is gone, and Mike is taking over.
Mike is the new Samantha. Sorry, you want to join the band on stage?
Only if you guys try to kiss me.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. Thank you.
This has been a Waning Moon production.